Ladies and gentlemen, I go by the name of Kaution, Mr. 700. You're now tapped into Allova Radio. We are reporting live from Thug's Mansion, aka Allova Media Studio, 8204 Elmbrook Drive, Dallas, Texas, for all your podcasts and media needs. And speaking of media, we are here with a very, very special, illustrious guest. One of those people that just don't pop up anywhere. You just don't see this man everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Or you see him everywhere, but it be places where you don't have access to. Gotta make it known. Shout out to my guy Smoothvega, man. Appreciate
what up, man?
Bro.
You know, look, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to come here for quite some time.
Thanks.
And I feel like you're right. You know, maybe right now, more so than ever, I feel like there's a little bit more exclusivity to what I do.
Facts.
Like, I'm trying to not do as much, you know, I think more so than ever. Now it's like, I kind of already made my rounds. I did that. I've already kind of paid my dues, you know, did every platform imaginable. You know, me and you were on the phone earlier and we talked about real life street stars.
Thanks.
Little known fact, I was actually their second guest ever.
Oh, that's crazy.
Ever. I thought I was the first, but they say Mo3 was, but.
Okay, you gotta throw that in there.
Either way,
it's a win.
It's a one of the two, you know, and I mean, and I've been that for a lot of people because when I identify media outlets, whether it be real life, whether it be my boy Mogul Media, rest in peace.
Shout out to Big D.
You know what I'm saying? Like I reach out. My people out there in San Antonio, Moz's world, and then what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? What you're doing as well. Like I see the work, I see the consistency, I see the frequency, and I always want to contribute to that.
Facts.
You
it's
know,
a big deal for like, and this is me speaking from my perspective of seeing all the work that you've put in on your own. It's a big deal to know that even if you get to a certain level, that you still look back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, bro, I call it imposter syndrome, right? But I don't view myself the way that everybody else views myself.
Of course.
Obviously, I have an understanding that, you know, there's been so much progress that's been made. There's been so many great things that have happened. So, you know, I watched a fucking interview on Tyrese. And Tyrese said, you know, he asked Vin Diesel how Vin Diesel got from this point to making $20 million a film, and he gave this long elaborative explanation about how Vin Diesel said there's more power in saying no than in saying yes, because if you say yes to everybody, then you become that guy.
Right. There's nothing special to it, right? There's no intrigue. I think and this is another thing that I wanted, and we'll get into that, but how have you been personally, bro, as far as on this journey? Because you're at a level that a lot of people don't get to, or they pretend that they're at. You know what I mean? Like, so how are you doing personally, like as a man in the phase that you are at this point in life?
You know, I'm about to be 40 years old in a couple weeks, man. In a couple weeks, I'm gonna be 40. So I think for me, you know, when I just said, you know, call it imposter syndrome, it's like, I don't necessarily view myself the way everybody else views myself, but I do have a sense of like, though this has come a long way. Right. And I think it's weird, man. Like it's like you find yourself kind of appreciating the past a little bit more. Like I was talking, you know, I was thinking about the speech I'm about to do on my daughter's 15 this weekend. And I'm like, you know what? Like, there's a part in the speech where I'm going to touch on, like, I might be making more money than I've ever made now.
Right.
But for whatever reason, at times I feel like I was happier when we were in a one bedroom apartment with no bed and struggling, paying check to check, because it really kind of defines you and it makes you who you are.
Right. And,
you know, the fact that we kind of pulled through that together is a powerful feeling.
The resilience.
But I do feel like right now, like, at times it feels surreal, but at times just to be completely honest, like I'm not surprised.
Right.
Because when you put in work and you never stop, there's only one outcome that's going to come out of it.
This is the expectation, right?
Yeah, this is the payoff. The payoff will come. And so I don't care about some of the things that I used to care about. You know, like
I don't think you can though, right? Like it pushes shit up. Like as you go up, so does the amount of things that you can keep in your mental capacity, right?
Correct. I also think like there was a period of time where validity and being validated by people and wanting to be accepted in the social circles, not only locally, but regionally, and even up to a certain extent nationally. Like, I wanted to unanimously be viewed as the guy. That's the competitive edge in me. Like, if somebody said that guy's a better promoter, or if somebody said that guy's a better whatever, it was like I had a bulletin board and I would put their names on a wall, and I would throw darts at it every time that I won, because I needed the edge to kind of like motivate myself even more than I was already motivated. Like, I'm motivated regardless of whether or not anybody's doing it. But I would go to social media and I would try to get that validation and, you know, try to, like, I don't know, prove myself or get the public's acceptance and kind of fill voids in my life that weren't being filled at the time with this attention. And now, I was on social media today and I was like, bro, I ain't really been posting as much. Like, of course I'll go on my story, but it's like, I'm at a point where I don't feel like I need to do that anymore. I
was just about to ask what changed, like what changed in the psyche as far as that goes?
You know, I was talking to one of the artists I manage and he asked me, he's like, hey man, I saw that post you made about, you know, not needing a list to validate who you are. Like, what made you say that?
Right.
I said, I don't know. I was just kind of, reminiscing on the journey a little bit. And then I told him, I said, but you know what? Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I just don't care anymore. Like, why do I care? And this is going to sound arrogant, but it's just the truth. Why do I care about people that I'm legitimately making more money than? Like, you know, and it sounds really fucked up to say it that way, but there's no other way to word it. Like it's like we're not on the same playing field,
right?
You know,
and you're explaining to people who won't understand it unless they experience it anyway.
Exactly.
So it's like, how do you make something make sense to somebody who's already in the mind state to where they're trying to like identify with something that's unfamiliar to them?
Correct, because it's like if I'm trying to explain or and tell somebody, hey man, look, you know, I've successfully been able to get an artist to this point. You know, we're in uncharted territory. We're in a space where we're generating more money than most people ever get an opportunity to ever experience. Like, this is like a rare air that we're breathing now. You can't relate to that.
No.
And I used to always say, dog, look, I'm a student of the game. Everybody that I work with or I have worked with, I was a fan before I worked with them, which is why it translates into the results, because I'm passionate about what I do. And I'm also looking at it from the perspective of like, because I've grown, I've matured in general, mentally, emotionally. The things that were important to me then, you know, aren't important to me now. Like, what means the most to me is just being able to provide, to do what I love, and, you know, continuously elevate, right? Like, and better everybody around me. And, you know, I've learned to not give everybody as much access, but to your point, I've wasted so much of my time over the years trying to explain to people what they need to do and why they should do it, not knowing that the one gift that I have that I feel that is overlooked, right, is initiative. Like, most people just don't have initiative. There's a gift to have an initiative. I said the two reasons why people don't make it in this world is because of lack of initiative and lack of knowledge. But the lack of knowledge stems from the lack of initiative to learn the things necessary to grow. Yeah, man. So yeah, you're right. Like, even if I, you know, start going on podcasts or start making informational videos and start telling people, hey, this is what it is, they're not gonna listen anyways.
No, hell nah.
Like
you gotta literally put it in a person's hands. I think, and I think what you're speaking of, there's a sense of like survivor's remorse in there. It's like, I've worked and put in the work to get to a certain point, and then I'm still trying to explain to people who really aren't believers what this is, because you still have a heart as a human, right? So like, I want to reach back down because I still see y'all there, but I can't stop the train from moving.
I can't, because I tell people all the time, like, look, man, you know, it doesn't matter whether or not you drive 100 miles per hour or not. You know, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to run out of gas. But I'm not going to stop driving. You know, I'm going to keep going forward. And, you know, you're right. There is a little bit of that. I'll randomly call some of the talents that I've worked with and I'll try to put them on game. But it's like, there's always this sense of like, well, you do it for me.
Right.
And it's like, nah, I'm not going to do it for you, because all it's going to do is enable you not knowing how to do it. But I also realize that maybe that's the magic. Maybe that's the the magicianship or whatever you want to call it, where that's the gift. Right. That I just see things and do things in a way that nobody else sees them and does them. And you know, you're asking, like, man, how am I now? I think I've reached a point where I wanted to be accepted by people, and then I stopped caring. And the moment I stopped caring is whenever I leveled up. Facts. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is way backwards.
It's that
like,
clarity. You cleared your mind from all the other shit, and it was like it opened up. Because if you're already doing, and I think what you're explaining too is like a lot of artists, and this is, you know, as an artist, I can tell you this, a lot of us are spoiled.
Yeah.
And we think a manager should do everything with us without actually even having something to manage.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so that becomes a little bit one of those things, because they're so used to seeing you work, like you said, that initiative, that they just sit back and ride the wave. You know what I'm saying? And so when you receive, they receive because they're a part of it. But if you step away from it, now it's just you. You see what I'm saying? Like, what do you do on your own? And they like, well, shit, last time, you know, Smooth sent out the email blast. Yeah. He put the graphics together for me. He got the video shot for me, you know, and then you take away those things, and some artists are completely lost, bro. So that makes complete and total sense.
You know, and I'll tell you one better, man. I recently said this to somebody. I go, man, of course, man, all artists, talent, they're selfish. They all want it for themselves. They all view themselves as the star of their own movie. No matter what you tell them, they're the star of their own movie, but you're not the star of my movie.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? I might be a role in your movie. I might be the director in your movie. I might be the producer in your movie, but your movie's your movie. And at the end of the day, I respect your movie. I will contribute to your movie. But the reason why I feel the talent gets real territorial with me is because they know in their heart what I bring to the table. And I compare it to a steroid shot. Every one of the talents that I work with right now will succeed with or without me. Every one of them are talented, whether or not I'm part of their career or not. But the moment I insert myself in their situation, it's a steroid shot, and now they get stronger. And then when they see you do it for somebody else, guess what? It evens the playing field, and now everybody's performing with the same resources as you. And then you're like, well, hold up, they're going up too. Well, what about me? And then it becomes like, listen, I'm not here to feed anybody's ego. I'm here to feed our families, right? So we're trying to get into a point where no matter how much personal relationship I have with whatever talent I work with, and I do, trust me when I tell you, I have a connection to every single one of them. Business is business, right? And when I say business is business, I'm not saying it in some like dehumanizing way. I'm saying it like, God forbid something happens to you today. God forbid you decide today you no longer want to do music, your voice goes out, you fire me, you quit, you decide, you know what, I'm going to go off the hinges today and do something crazy and chaotic, and now I'm in trouble. What does that leave me if I'm only putting my eggs in one basket?
In one basket.
You know? And people also have to remember, long before artist management, I was a successful promoter. I'm still a successful promoter when I decided to put the hat on. Media, podcasting, you know, obviously, even the artist, the music production aspect, social media, like I wear a lot of hats, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Because I had to become that. Like I had this mindset that in order for you to reach the pinnacle of whatever sport you're in or whatever field you're in, you got to know how to play every role. Facts. Like I'll start as a janitor and work my way up to the CEO, but one thing I'm not trying to do is go back to being the janitor.
No, yeah, I've already passed that. Like I've already surpassed this level of accomplishment. I can't keep going back. Even if it's to service someone else, I have to keep moving. Like that's the part that people don't understand, bro. It's like if I see something like, but it, you know, and I think I was talking to somebody the other day and I said that I can't keep celebrating the trophies I won years ago.
Bro, oh my gosh, that's the gospel right there. Bro, you're speaking to somebody that feels uncomfortable when people ask me, what have you done? I really don't even like bringing up the past, even though like when I look at the resume, it is very decorated, but I feel uncomfortable talking about it because it used to be like, so who have you worked with? Well, and then I would like ground like a script. I've worked with this guy, and I've done this, and it's like, there comes a period of time where people no longer care about what you did. They care about what you're doing and what you're going to do. And I've learned to be more present, live in the moment, and focus on what I'm trying to do. I always tell people, look, the follow-up is more important than the setup. I'm always thinking 3-4 moves ahead, and that's called having vision. And so, you know, bringing it all back, we're talking about what's changed? Well, I think that's what's changed, is having clarity as to what I'm trying to accomplish, right? Because make no mistakes, right now the goal is to elevate. And I told you, I said, man, every artist that I've worked with, whether it be Paul Wall, whether it be whoever, Joe Budden at one point, Royce the 5'9", dude, I shared a story when I booked Royce the 5'9" here in Dallas, right? I booked this tour, you know, throughout Texas. I've done it multiple times. Right. Good friend of mine, I did a record with him in 2007, 2008. And I go to Detroit now, and you know, I went probably about a year and a half ago. Rakim was there.
I remember
you
that.
know, and man, he'll tell you, like, he let me stay at the studio. He let me drive his Mercedes-Benz for the weekend. Like, you know, bro, they treat me so good. The last time I went, you know, his assistants picking me up, taking me out to eat, paying for everything. And what people don't realize, I shared this on stage, was when Royce the 5'9" was in jail for a year in 2006 for his DUI.
Right.
I wrote him a letter when he was in jail as a fan. I wrote him a fan letter. Right? Bro, I am a fan before I am anything else. Right, and that's why you can't fake this shit. Because when I went on Big D's podcast, right, and I was talking about Rainwater, and I was being very, how would I word it? Like, by the way, me and Rain are cool. Right. But like, I was being very like vague about, you know, man, you know what? This is what I get tired of, this, and this. And I had a lot of people telling me it was a great interview, but what I was trying to say was, I'm fucking tired of seeing people get taken advantage of, young artists that get taken advantage of. They see these gatekeeper lists, they see these quote unquote power players that people make you believe are the power players and the representations of our scene. And then when they meet them, it's just a hustle to them. Yep. It's literally like, well, yeah, I could do all that for you for this amount of money, knowing you're not gonna do any of that, exactly. Knowing you don't believe in the talent, and then you burn good people along the way. Yeah. And when I see good people get burned, because I've seen so many of them, I'm always the guy that gets the fucking guy that got burned 5 times, and then like, this is all I have left. Right? You paid this guy 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, but you're only gonna give me 4 or 5 grand because, you know, everybody else burned me. Right. And it's like, dog, I actually deliver the results that I'm gonna do in anything that I do. But it's disheartening when I see people get taken advantage of. Bro, I manage a fucking artist right now. And you could hear me getting fucking hyped right now. I was just gonna say, I feel it. Bro, I manage an artist right now, and she's gonna be so fucking mad when she watches this video, but it's the fucking truth, bro. She got a grant from the city of Austin, bro. Oh, wow. For $30,000, and the person that helped her facilitate it lied to her and told her, you know what, man, I could get you this grant. We're gonna split it 4 ways. So when she was under the understanding that she was gonna get this grant, she thought she was only gonna get $7,500 because the guy told her that they were gonna split it 4 ways. She thought it was a 4-way grant. And I asked her, I go, hold up, like, because she didn't tell me in the beginning. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Whose account is that going to? She said, mine. I said, so automatically you're gonna get 1099 for that. I go, I got some questions. I asked the guy, boy, next thing you know it, I found out that they were using her information, her accolades, her accomplishments, her resume to submit to get a grant. They got approved. Never mind the fact that all those accomplishments, all those accolades, all those things that led for her to get the grant were things that I helped her build, right? The investment that I made, and you mean to tell me you're gonna try to make sure that she only gets $7,500 and you get $22,500? Like, bro, that's criminal. Asinine. Bro, that's criminal. That is fucking thievery at the highest level. Like, and so I confronted him, shook, you know, I rattled the cage. I was able to get more, but they still made way more than they were entitled to. And it's like, bro, this happens all the fucking time, bro.
I was about to say, these are the stories that people don't tell you when you get involved with this shit, that like are horror stories. Like that, that's something that would scare you off if you didn't know the details or have somebody in your corner to feed you the information. Oh, dog,
I went off. And, you know, we have a running joke now that I intimidate people, but I have to, because at the end of the day, you are not going to take advantage of the artists that I work with or the people I work with. I have fought venues on fucking every dollar because you're not gonna fucking still. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, at the end of the day, you're not gonna out hustle a hustler. You're not gonna out promote a promoter. Dare I say, I do it better than you, right? Like, so you got me fucked up, bro. But there's not enough of that. So when I see, look, I just saw on social media, there was a guy that posted, Dallas Global posted that this guy had got hustled for like, I don't know, like 20K or 25K or some shit like that. And I was like, bro, like, it's disheartening. I don't like seeing that shit, but it's unavoidable. And it's something, especially in Dallas, that you see all the time because we are a big market, but it's rampant everywhere. So,
do you think it's a matter, and even just speaking specifically here, do you think it's a matter of it being such a large market, one of the 4 or 5 largest in the country, and then there not being enough representation of those who can do things the right way?
Man, Kaution, I'm going to keep it all the way real with you, bro. The problem with not just Dallas, the music industry, whatever fucking adjective you want to use, the game, the music game, the rap game, the hip hop game, right? The truth is that there's not enough managers being built. There's not enough executives being built. There's not enough of that. Everybody wants to be the rapper.
Everybody's a fucking rapper.
Everybody wants to be the fucking star. Nobody wants to learn the business. And we're not doing a good enough job of breeding the next generation of that.
Facts.
So the business gets mishandled because there's nobody in position to handle business, right? Nobody's been taught how to do this properly. And so along comes me, like, of course I'm learning on the job, but bro, the truth is that there's so many people that just aren't good at what they do.
Facts.
And that are fucking the mouthpiece of what the perception is. Dude, look, most of these people, I say this, I go, I love hip hop, bro. I love hip hop. It is everything to me, bro.
It's ingrained in my spirit.
You know what I'm saying? It is giving me everything. But I used to tell people all the time, I go, man, hip hop is one of the most bootleg ran businesses. I go, it's the one business. It's the epitome of the American dream where like a D-boy can go from D-boy to music manager because a fucking artist popped. You know what I'm saying? There's people that have no passion whatsoever for the business, which by the way, they usually get weeded out.
Basically,
that get lucky, they end up in a situation and then they run it up and then fuck it all up. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen people that have been promoted from fucking weed dealer to fucking music executive.
In a matter of an instance.
And I'm just like,
because your homeboy got a song that popped and now people.
Or they were at the right place at the right time. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, what about the people that really put in the work? So, you know, when I think about the journey, I analyze and I said, maybe I just wasn't aggressive enough. Maybe I wasn't enough of a fucking finesser. Maybe I wasn't enough of a talker. You know, I've always been a doer, not a talker. I mentioned about how I grew up, you know, admiring these guys and I respected those guys, but I noticed that at some point or another, those guys that I grew up on, they eventually became my peer group. Like the people that I once admired are now my peers. And the people that I started with, I love them. All of them, they made me who I am. Every artist that I ever rapped alongside, every open mic I ever did in 2002, 3, 4, every guy that I ever fucking, you know, made a song with, those people made me. They helped me understand what this was about, whether or not they realized it or not. They all played a part in my development. I love all of them, even though some of them we've had our fair share of, you know, disagreements. But they're no longer my peers. You know what I'm saying? I will always treat them as if they're my peer. I'll never look at myself above them, right? Even though I'm saying they're no longer my peers, but they're not. Most of them don't do music anymore. Most of them capped out, and most of them look to me for certain things because I'm an expert at what I do. And I'm not afraid to say that anymore. And it's almost like a fucking gorilla off my back, right? Like damn, I'm great at what I do, and the results have proven it. But, you know, I think we're kind of being a little vague because we're talking about, oh, I've done this, I've done that, but we should really kind of let them know what it is that has been done, because I think there's that. But I just wanted to share that because I'm like, fucking, I have all this anxiety built up, bro. And when I saw you post about Kendrick, and you're like, man, all these fucking bozos over here talking about what's mid and what's not mid, as if they know what anything beyond is. You know, I felt that.
Show us your work. You see what I'm saying? Show us how to do it there. And I think that's my biggest pet peeve, bro, because I think being on the other side of this, because you were an artist as well.
Yeah.
You're on that side of it and you just see, I gotta put out music. I gotta show everybody I'm the dopest, I'm the best, I dress the best, or I look the best, or there's so much of this competing to where like you lose sight of like there's a professional aspect of this.
Yeah.
And there's somebody else that's worked their 10,000 hours, that's put this time in, that's done shit that you haven't done, but they make it look like it's just a breeze.
Yeah.
And you've never done it, so how can you tell me what to do? How can you give me insight into what's right or wrong if you have never done it? It's the wildest concept, and that's the biggest thing about being on the other side of music that's not an artist, is you get all these fake ass professionals. And if you talk a good enough game, just like you say, you're not enough of a bullshitter, there's a guy who's a professional bullshitter.
Yeah. And and you could bamboozle a few people, but eventually the real will figure it out.
They'll weed you out.
I've seen it. Here, I've seen it more times than not. You don't know how many big shot promoters I've seen come and go. People have tried to compare me to some of these guys. I've been in the room with some of these guys. I've had people try to lie for them in a meeting to land an investor, right? Straight up.
Telling shit that didn't happen.
Bro, try to get me to convince whoever that they were trying to get money out of and say, yeah, he manages this artist, right? To try to get money. And this is a guy that y'all look up. Like, it reminded me of fucking Black Panther. This is your king?
Facts.
Like, this is the guy y'all think is the guy? It's like the guy that you think is the guy is low-key asking me to help him secure a bag because he can't do it on his own.
Do it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but this is your guy, right? Like, I can't even tell you, because at the end of the day, what the fuck is the purpose of me telling you, hey, he's fooling you?
Right,
You'll find out with enough time. Like, I don't feel the need to do that, bro. Like, and I think people misinterpret who and what I was for so long, because they'd see the guy with the shades, they would see the guy online, like they would see the self-promotion and misinterpret that like it's arrogance. So like he's cocky, he's this. Bro, the truth is, it's not. Like, it really isn't. Like, anybody that truly, truly knows me knows that I will fucking go hard for what I believe in, and I will work my ass off. And that's the only reason why I'm here where I'm at today. It's not because of anything else. Have I made my mistakes? Yes. More times than not. But I'm a living fucking proof that no matter what anybody says, you could say I was a piece of shit, and I'll be like, you know what, maybe I was.
So, depending on when you met me.
But I'm not anymore, and I'm not going to be moving forward, bro. Like, I got baptized last year.
Oh man, shout out to you for that.
Man, and when I got baptized, bro, it was like such a liberating feeling. It's symbolic, maybe it's just more of a mental thing, but it was very like, whatever was in the past stays in the past, and it's who I am today.
What made you want to go do that at this point in your life?
Man, I think it was everything, man. I mismanaged my marriage. I think that was a big part of it. I think just kind of seeing, being with somebody as long as I've been with, and, just being dishonest. Right. Being unfaithful. Like, those are things that, when I talk to her about it now, she's like, oh, you talk about it like you're proud. I'm like, I'm not, but there might be someone listening to this
that can use that.
That can take that. And that it could impact them, and it could influence them, because at this point I'm nothing more than an example of what you can do and what you can't do. Because when you become somebody that, look, bro, when I started doing music, nobody believed in me. Like, I don't look like a rapper. I was self-taught. I wasn't a great rapper. At least in the beginning of my career, I wasn't good at all. And I taught myself how to develop. And as I developed, I grew to have a skill set, and it got to a point where it became an acquired taste. Whether you like it or you don't like it, I started having success with it. And then you go being the underdog, underestimated. Even when I started getting love and respect, I felt so uncomfortable. Like, it was just like a feeling like, man, I don't feel like I don't believe it, because everybody made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Right. And so I always felt like I had to prove myself. So that mindset, in addition to, my mother passing away in 2009, and then that void that she left of emotional support, on top of like, now you're leveling up and now you're becoming the guy. Because make no mistake, depending on when you heard of me, I've had a track record way beyond. Like
yeah.
in Fort Worth, I was doing self-promoted events, selling 1,300 tickets in 2007.
That's how I found out about you. That was like my first introduction to you, was like that portion. Because like I said, I got here in 04, at the end of 04, like 05.
Yeah.
And then like, it takes a while to kind of get your feet on the grass and kind of get to know people. But then once I tapped into like the social media, the DFW, that's all I used to see, bro, was you promote.
Bro.
All the time.
Bro, like I'm the Don Dada. I'm the Godfather. No, it was cool because like it was like nobody was doing it, but I say that to say now you're getting power.
Right.
And now you're getting attention. And bro, I don't care who you are. There is no way to prepare you for that. There is no way to mentally prepare you for not having any of that to having a whole lot of it.
Having everything.
And now it's like, whoa, I went from not having money to having money. I went from not having attention to getting a lot of attention. I went from having no power to having a lot of power. So yes, along the lines, there was an abuse of power in the sense.
I was just about to ask that. I was just about to ask, what are some of the pitfalls in that whole situation to where it's like from A to B so quickly that you fell into?
I would say that just being reckless, man. Like I don't. My words, in my opinion, because I viewed myself as the guy that wasn't good enough. I viewed myself as probably, in the sense, someone that didn't take himself as serious. So I could say something halfway joking in a flirtatious way to a woman, not realizing that, bro, like they don't view it that way. They view you here, and that took a lot of adapting, a lot of learning. I put myself in a lot of situations where I hurt my partner. And I'm not proud to say that. You think I'm fucking, bro, I made mistake after mistake after mistake. In addition to the fact that, bro, I had every fucking artist locally wanting to get on a show with me. And now the artist that I'm helping versus the artist I'm not helping, you got a group of people that hate me or are mad because I'm not giving them a chance. You have people claiming nepotism. People did not understand what the psychology of booking was, right? Or what my theory of booking was. And I didn't understand the level of it. So I say all that to say, like, it took me a long time to grasp it. It also took a long time to understand internally, like, what was happening in my life. Because I always knew I was different, bro. My mom, I used to tell these people, my mom told me I was special since the time I was born. And whether or not she meant it or not, I believed every word because she said it. When I was 12 years old, I said, I want to be a youth counselor. My mom wanted me to be a parole officer. I made the decision that I wanted to counsel people at 12 years old. At 40 years old, I'm counseling people just not in the way that I thought I was, right?
Facts.
So it's like, but it's like,
that's a bar.
But I learned, I always knew I was gonna do it, bro. I don't know what it was. Like, if I would see something, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And anything I've ever said I was gonna do, I've done. Right? So I just started figuring myself out, bro. I started identifying childhood traumas that I didn't even realize I had, the way that I was impacted by my upbringing, the way I was raised, the fact that I used to look at my father, and my father's still alive, and I love this man, but don't get it fucked up. I know he's gonna feel some type of way when I say this, even though he doesn't speak, English like that. But when I would see my father treat my mother a certain way, I used to say I would never treat a woman the way that my dad treats my mother. And then I got to an age when I did the same exact thing.
Shit.
Bro, because you know what? Like, when you identify traumas, one of three things happens. You either do nothing about it, you become a worse version of it, or you identify it and you become a better version of it. And I made the decision I wanted to be a better version of it. And bro, like, my mom, one thing about her, she was a God-fearing woman. So by her being a God-fearing woman, she instilled the word in me. And I always say this, man, there was never a feeling in my lifetime that made me feel more at peace, more therapeutic than when she put her hands on me and she prayed over me. Like, that was food in my soul, it was medicine. There was nothing that made me feel better. And since she's passed, I haven't had that feeling. And I've chased that. And I said, man, you know what? My mother laid the foundation in me. She put that in me. And so the apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Oh, facts, it's there.
So when I started kind of finding myself a little lost, like, man, you know what? Like, I don't want to get drunk by the power. I don't want to get drunk by the attention. I grounded myself and I centered myself and I said, you know what? it all goes back to God. I never not believed, but I felt in order for me to be the best version of self, I had to commit, and really give myself and really understand that those things that you were going through, man, it's funny, man, me and you are around the same age. The one thing you realize when we get to this age is that we have something now that we didn't have in our 20s.
Big facts.
That we didn't have in our teens. We have experience.
The knowledge of everything.
We have experience, bro.
And for you step your foot into something or step out there and do some shit, you have the information there to say, don't do that again. Like, don't move in that direction. Yeah. Don't fall in that same pitfall that you've done a million times over, or that you've seen somebody else. Like, I'm a big learner from other people's mistakes. I tell people that all the time. Like,
I mean, you just nailed it. You're a learner from people's mistakes.
Yeah.
So my mistakes, I hope that the silver lining behind them, because they hurt a lot of people. They hurt me more than anything. They hurt my family. Right. But I hope that somebody learns from them.
Gotcha.
Because at the end of the day, if that's what I had to go through so somebody can be better, then, I mean, it's not worth it, but there's a reason. Right. And I want to be that testimony to people, because ultimately, man, look, nobody teaches you this, man. Like in the minorities, right? Like we're, the Hispanic community, we weren't taught how to go to therapy, go to counseling.
Hell no, it's never even brought up. It's almost taboo. Yeah. Like people teach you to box in your emotions or shit, like, or deal with things internally. And so you do that as you grow. And then somebody tell, oh yeah, I see a therapist. And you kind of like, man, that shit don't do nothing. Like, bro, you automatically say it's fucked up, but we never really take the time to even try it, bro. Like, it's so wild that you say that, because I've had that brought to me so many times where it's like, oh yeah, therapist, well, I'm gonna pay somebody to tell me something I already know.
Because you start unpacking, and when you start unpacking, you start aligning, and you start figuring certain things out about yourself. And so I look at it like this, man, like for me, I'm such in a different phase of my life right now, where I see people post stuff on social media. I saw something yesterday that triggered me. I was like, man, hold up. I saw it, and when I saw it, I'm like, why is it that people always want to commentate on things, right? Like, I have the right to set a boundary and say, that ain't got nothing to do with you, and that ain't none of your business. I owe nobody nothing, right? No matter how much you may view me as a public figure, right? By the way, I won Public Figure of the Year in 2023.
Nice. What was it, the Cosign?
The Cosign Award. Shout out to Cosign.
Shout out to Cosign, man. We had it up here not too long ago.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But look, like, my personal life ain't got nothing to do with, I don't owe anybody anything. I don't owe you an explanation. That's my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever I do is what I do. But for the record, what I'm doing right now is the work. Right. I'm getting better, man. I feel better. I feel in a place right now that I have so much clarity, bro. And I can own my mistakes, and I could own who I was, and I could say, you know what? The reason why the blessings are coming right now is because I'm doing right. Right. Because guess what? The moment I cut vices, the moment I cut bad people, bad situations, bad energy, bad habits, you know what I'm saying? Like, the blessings started pouring in. Gotcha. And maybe it's a psychological thing, right? Maybe it was just like,
that's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just like I felt more like focused and more like, I don't need that. Yeah. I don't need that, because you get to that point, like I said, look, in your teens, you're living, right? You know, in your 20s, you're figuring it out. In your 30s, you're reflecting. And in your 40s, you're applying. Right. I'm not even 40 yet, but I feel like I've been there, bro. And I'm just like, dog, like it's just a different type of focus I have right now. Right. But the baptism played such a big part in it, man. And I'm so, I felt so, like, I don't want to say reborn, but I just felt re-energized, and it was like a reset, because I needed it. Right. Like, I needed it. And it wasn't like, yeah, okay, you know, those things never happened. They did happen. Right. And when I say those things, I'm not implying anything in specific. Specifically for me, when I say that, is rebuilding my relationship with my partner, with my wife. You know, that's a big part of it for me. And it's work. Right. To this day, it's work.
I ask this question a lot. Do you think that the profession that you chose has a direct impact on your personal life as far as it goes?
Absolutely. I think my oldest daughter will never admit it, but I think it impacted her the most, because we have this tendency as humans, because we're programmed by the YouTube videos that we watch and the inspirational videos we watch on Instagram Shorts. Like, you know, in order to do this, you got to sacrifice everything, blah, 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 blah. Like, man, get the fuck out of here. Look, I'm going to tell you right now firsthand, nothing is more important than the foundation, because without the foundation, everything cracks. You will fall apart, and it does not matter how many followers you have, how many fans you have, how much money you have in your account. Bro, none of that buys time, and none of it buys happiness. Right? Self-consciously, I put my career in front of my family way too much, right? But it was part of the sacrifice. I had to do that to get to where I'm at. You don't understand. I got to put this time in to make the money that I'm making to provide for y'all. They don't give a fuck about the money. They give a fuck about my time. Bro, my daughter's about to be 15 years old this Saturday, and I'm looking at my little girl, not so little anymore. And every now and then, you know, she could be a smart ass and she pops off at the mouth and she'll say some stuff, but I got to take it on the chin because she saw me in 2022 go on the road with Westside Boogie. And while, you know, her birthday's on February 15th, I'm on the road with Westside Boogie singing happy birthday to an artist that I manage, and I'm missing her birthday physically. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she saw that. I can't get that back, bro. Do you know that every single one of my kids, everybody in my household right now, I've missed a birthday, I've done a show on their birthday, every one of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm done doing that, bro. I did that. And in my mind, it was like, well, I'm making money. I'm making the money, right? But like, bro, you can't get those moments back.
Those things you can't buy back.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, it directly impacts it when you have that mindset. So I try to tell people, don't do that. That right there, that's a myth. The myth, because guess what? Like, when you look up and everything is gone, you know, Shaquille O'Neal, my favorite basketball player of all time, the best center of all time, the GOAT. He did an interview on the Pivot podcast.
Nice.
And that interview probably changed my perspective on life. And when I meet him, which I will.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm surprised you ain't met him already.
We've exchanged DMs, right? Gotcha. When we meet, I'm going to tell him, bro, you changed my life. Right. You changed my life in more ways than one. Because that interview was so telling. And there was a part of that where he's talking about, like, bro, he, you know, at his peak, he lost everything. He lost his family. He had this big old mansion that you work for, and you're all alone in this mansion. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's what it feels like whenever you reach the point. It's like, what was the purpose of me working this hard, this long, 20 plus years to get to this point to provide for all of y'all? And then I look up and everybody's gone. Right. Everybody's gone because of my selfishness, because of my, you know, when I talk about, you know, all those things that I did, that's what I'm talking about. The constant, they're more important than you. Every day I pick up my kids from school, I'm on the phone closing a deal, trying to figure out the next move instead of asking them what's important to them. Right? Asking them, like, bro, there was a period of time I didn't know my kid's favorite color, didn't know their favorite movie, their favorite song. I was there, but I wasn't present. Because of the sacrifices that you make. Oh, that's what's required to be this super successful entrepreneur. I mean, fuck that. Who are you even trying to do this for? Like, fuck the internet. Like, yo, why are you trying to appease an audience of people that don't give a fuck right now if you are here or you're not? Because guess what? If something happens to me today, people will find another manager. People will find another promoter. They'll find another whatever, GOAT or whatever term you want to use. But my kids ain't gonna get that again, bro.
There's no doubt there. And people will literally watch you die. Like, they will sit on the internet and watch you phase away and literally forget about you. And you spend all this time trying to impress these people who could care less about you. That's heavy though. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that when you're going through these things or you're trying to be successful and you spending time and pouring time and all the sweat equity into everything you're doing, and you look back and your kids form this level of resentment for your wife doesn't look at you the same, or you know what I'm saying?
Bro,
whatever.
It's such a empty, hollow feeling. But at the same time, you know, you understand it. So you got to do one thing about, you could do one or two things about it. Either do something about it or don't do something about it. And when you make the decision to do something, you understand all the things that come with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't going to be quick. It ain't going to be fast, but it will be worth it. You know what I'm saying? So everything I get right now, whether it's a thank you, a hug, and I love you, whatever, I earned it and I appreciate it.
Facts.
I appreciate the conversations. I appreciate hearing about your day because, you know, I'm just in a different mindset. Right. You know, something I haven't shared with anybody, right? When Chino Excel passed away, Chino Excel was one of my mentors.
Rest in peace, Chino.
Chino Excel was one of my mentors. Chino Excel took a chance on me in 2006, did a song with me when nobody took me serious. And because of him, I was able to meet Sinful. I was able to meet Crooked Eye. I was able to meet a lot of people as a direct result of Chino. And Chino also played a big part in whenever I started talent buying, getting me in the door at one of the bigger agencies. At the same time he did it, Joe Budden's manager, you know, Corey Newton at the time did it for me. And these guys played a big part, but you know, Chino passed away recently. And I wasn't aware to the extent of how much his health had deteriorated. And you know, I could sit here and say, you know what, I didn't do enough to check on him. You know, we would exchange messages every so often. And he would always tell me how proud of me he was, which his stamp of approval and him telling me he was proud of me meant more to me than anybody else around here. Because he saw me in 2006. He remembered the kid that took a chance and booked him in 2008 when I had never done it like that, you know? But man, like seeing him, you know, go through what, you know, like since he's passed, seeing how his estate has handled the passing, seeing all the stuff that came out of it, you know, I don't know how many of his peers are stepping up and doing stuff for the family. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but I will say this. What I do know is because of the role he's played in my career, as small of a gesture as it's been, like I sent his daughter money on Christmas. You know, I didn't broadcast it. Like, you know, I feel even weird talking about it now. But I say that to say, like, I don't forget that type of shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it might not be the most money in the world, but it's the fact that, like, yo, it crossed my mind. And I recognize that there's a void there, right? One day I'm not gonna be here no more, bro. And when I'm no longer here, what all those accomplishments that we talk about that, you know, make us feel a little uncomfortable talking about, like, doesn't matter anymore. You know, I want to be remembered in a sense that, like, I want people to know that I positively impacted them. Of course, along the way, was there missteps? For sure. But when is there not? It's part of the journey.
Oh, nobody's perfect. How do you feel like your legacy is going to define you when you decide, and not when you're not even, like, say if you pass away, no shit like that, but when you decide to step away from all this shit, because you cover so much, bro. And I think we got into it talking about, like, the intricacies of shit, but, like, a lot of people don't know. Like you said, you've been an artist where you are managing artists as it goes right now, talent booking, the media game you've crushed. Like, I see all the statistics that go up. I've seen the interviews. I know what you've done to help artists that may not come out and shout your name from the mountaintop.
Bro, Rakim is my boy.
Shout out to Rakim.
I was telling you this. I go, man, this motherfucker, and I love Rakim. But I mentioned the Bun B track, the Scarface track. I was able to facilitate that. I made that happen. Those were my tracks that I gave to him. Those are his highest performing tracks. He goes on a fucking interview with Mogul Media, and they're like, yo, how did those tracks come about? He's like, I got an alley-oop. That's all he said. And I goddamn, Rakim, say my fucking name. I feel like Destiny's Child, like, say my name. Come on, bro. Like, because at the end of the day, that's all I have, bro. You know, when you ain't got cash, what do you got? You got credit.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, bro, I didn't get, and to this day, never made nothing off those records because I wanted to help him. And when he looks back in his career, I guarantee he will remember that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Huge moments.
And there's a respect level, but I'm like, God damn, bro. Like, but it's
bro
like,
said I got an alley-oop.
I was like, I got an alley-oop. Like, what the fuck? Am I the invincible guy that alley-ooped you? Like shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, I was taught never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Big facts.
Because if the expectancy is that, oh, I want credit, then, you know, let it be known from the beginning, because something I was taught pretty early on in my career is no expectations, no disappointments.
I was just about to say, oh, you expect it, and then you allow yourself to be disappointed based on your expectations of another person. And that always hurts me, bro. Like, that's my biggest thing. I expect people to be like me. And I end up hurting the end because I'm like, damn, I thought we was on the same page. And we completely parallel. Like, we're not thinking alike at all. Like,
bro, I mean, I say that jokingly, but at the time when I saw him say that, I was like, this fucking guy, right? It's still my guy.
Right.
We still talk. But, you know, I'm just like, come on, man. Like, but I also know what I do. And if you don't, like, for me, it's kind of like, either you do or you don't know, right? You know, you talk about legacy. Like, I just want the legacy to be like, yo, I impacted. I've always said I want to elevate the game, right? I want people to look back and say, man, he changed the way things were done. Right. I'm not there yet, bro. I don't even feel I'm at the halfway mark right now. Like, I feel like I still got so long to go. The goal was always to get into a position to where I'm a real music record executive working. If I'm not at a major, I establish myself as a major. And that has been the goal all along. I mentioned to you on the phone earlier, you know, I was doing Taliban, you know, strong for 8 years. I looked up and I said, well, damn, that's 8 years. Well, 8 years, that's a master's degree. Facts. I got a master's degree in this shit. So now I got to apply it to the next phase of my life and the next phase of my career. I could still get busy, but all the things I learned from that, I was able to apply it to when I did get an artist that was moving and shaking. And now I'm able to maximize for the client. I'm able to maximize for the artist. I'm able to walk into a major label office, which, by the way, I could show you a video from the CEO of Universal Music Group Nashville. Whenever we signed the record deal, sitting at a boardroom table with all the label employees there, and she points at me and she says, and I've already fucking told you, you're gonna walk in the next generation of artists that walk in through this door. Wow. And for her to say that was the highest compliment, because I remember when nobody believed. You know what I'm saying? I remember when nobody believed. I'm like, all these years, dog, I promise you, there was times where I felt like I was fucking crazy. Like, yo, why doesn't anybody do it this way? Why doesn't it, you know, anybody do it that way? And I would every so often put my fingerprints on situations just to know that it would move, like the Rakim records, which, by the way, his highest streamed song to date. Tell him. Top it, motherfucker. I'm telling him. I called him the other day. I said, dog, there's a top 25 Dallas list. And he was like number 22. 25. He was number 25. He was top 30. He was top 30 and 25. You know what I texted him? I said, this is your fault that you fell this low. I remember when you were top 5. I motivate him. I talk shit. He's like, you ain't gotta put a battery in my back. I'm like, yes, I do, clearly. But your 2 top streaming songs are songs that I help. Top them. Please. I'm asking you. I'm begging you. I want you to. Right? But I put my fingerprints on this to know that I can move it to that. And I knew, bro, I would manage all these social accounts, whether it be Royce the 5'9", Cap G's, fucking Busy Bone, the Bone Thugs and Harmony, whoever. It would be all these different artists, legacy acts, Latin acts, and I would just say, all right, let me put my fingerprints on it. And then it would go. Like, okay, I'm not crazy.
And then you take your hands off and watch what it does.
And then it just doesn't do anything. I'm like, what the fuck? Now you're number 25.
Does that like, do you see the results of what you do work, not get the credit? Does that keep you or make you feel like you don't want to put your hands on certain things?
I mean, up to a certain extent, it used to. Now it doesn't. Now I'm all about results. I remove feelings. It's all about results. All I care about is how can we get to the next step? How can, fuck feelings, results. Like, how can we get here? And when I told you, if I felt like I was crazy, dog, like I felt fucking nuts. But I'm like, then I started noticing, like, I did it here, then I did it there, then I did it here, then I did it there. And I had a conversation with Snow the Product in 2013, 2014, and I sat in her garage and I was trying to tell her, yo, you've reached a point where, like, you've attained and you got so many fans that you really could just take the Floyd Mayweather approach and do this and do that. And I was so, like, vague about it. Right. I didn't know how to tell her, like, yo, you got an audience, fuck the middleman. You can do it yourself. Get right to him. And she's like, you're being vague, Vega. She's like, what are you trying to say? And I was trying to tell her you could self-promote events. And, we didn't do it because closed mouths didn't get fed. Maybe I wasn't as confident. Right. But whenever Louis the Singer, who I managed, took off, and, now it's 2023. The same kid that I discovered on the side of the freeway when I did an event in 2007 is now the fucking hottest thing smoking in country. All right, what are we gonna do? Well, man, I already knew, because this is something I've been practicing for the past 10 years. Same thing to him. There was never a formal conversation like, so, can you manage me? Or hey, can I manage you? It was very much a head nod. Like, all right, we've been waiting for this moment for a long time.
Let's get to
Come on. Whether or not there's ever been disagreements or not, because there's been plenty.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, there's been plenty of times we've clashed and we don't like each other, but we have a special type of relationship that could never be replicated.
Right.
Because that's a brotherhood, way beyond anything. It's a mentor, student, whatever adjective you want to use it. We have a real relationship, and I understand this dude, and I get him. And when that head nod happened, I was like, all right. And I went to work. Do what you do.
Right.
Do what you do great. He's an alpha. I like to say he has main character syndrome. He likes to be the main dude.
Right.
And I do too. But you know what? You're that guy in the music. You're the music guy. You write songs. You perform songs. You go hard on stage. You do that better than I could ever do it. Right? Even though I still get busy with writing. Right? No, I mean, I can still get busy with producing, but you know what? You can do it better because the results show that you can do it better. But let me tell you something. I do this better.
Right.
And when we collide that, no one could touch us. Mm-hmm. So that same conversation I had in 2013, 2014, I'm like, yo, take the Floyd Mayweather approach. Do it yourself. You know, I didn't know how to word it. I just, let's do this. And we did it. And then boom, next thing you know, you go from here all the way here. You go from headlining a 300 cap room in Fort Worth in April of 2023 to ending the year at Billy Bob's, a place that's never been known to really book minorities like that. And you know, now we're selling 2,500 tickets in the same calendar year. You know what I'm saying? You go from making this much money to making a whole lot more money. And again, like, I knew I wasn't crazy. Right. You know, when we walked in and we were at Universal Music Group, everybody in that motherfucker were like, you're a superstar. The first meeting we had with them, you know, we had just got done meeting with Interscope. We go to Universal and they fucking flew us out on a 48-hour notice. We get to the airport. They have a private driver, you know, with the little sign and shit. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is happening? We ain't never had this. Right. You know what I'm saying? You know, they put us in a 5-star hotel, which, you know, I've been treated like that before, but for him, it was amazing. Like, yes, I mean, and he's had that too, don't get me wrong, but we're in the fucking Four Seasons, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is happening right now? And then when we go in there, and everybody's bought into this guy and they're saying he's a star. All I can remember is telling my wife in 2011, whenever Bruno Mars did the Super Bowl, I said, Louis better than him. Oh, wow. And she's like, you're fucking crazy. That's blasphemous. And maybe it still is, right? But I believed in him that much. It's the belief. I believed in him that much then. So now, 13 years later, now y'all agree with me? Like, I'm like, okay. And then last year I went to Capitol Records. And I went to Capitol and I went with the girl that I've been mentoring for the past, give or take, 5-6 years now. And we never really formally did a management agreement, but they took an interest in her. And we went out there and I'm hearing the same thing, like, she's a star. And I don't think in my head, it's like, I said this 5 fucking years ago. And then if you go a step further, you know, booking Jordan Lucas in 2016, my boy Ren tipped me on him. He had like 15,000 followers on Instagram. I booked him, put him in a venue in Fort Worth, and I told everybody, I'm gonna make the show free. You have to be here, right? You have to be here. And no fucking 50 people went, and then lo and behold, like, I wasn't wrong, dog. Like, I'm like, yo, I told you, I'm not fucking crazy, dog. I'm not fucking crazy. Like, this is some real things that are happening, dog. Like, and so now it just gave me a certain type of confidence. Like, I wanted to convince people to view things my way, and then I realized I just don't.
I was just finna say that you gotta. At this point, you don't have to even say it anymore. I think what you said earlier is that how you used to go about wanting to make people know that you were the man. I think now they just see it, and they see it, and it's like, how is that attainable? I don't know, but it's working. It's fucking working. Like, seeing you at award shows and shit, bro. Like, seeing you know, people giving you bags of clothes and shit. Oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? All this kind of shit. Shout out to me.
Yo, this Mark Wahlberg's clothing line, dog.
Shout out to Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg's business partner, Marty, is Jordan Lucas's tour manager. And whenever I went to San Diego for a show, they were like, yo, the brick and mortar headquarters store is 45 minutes up, up from where you're at. It's an Oceanside. So I caught an Uber, dog. It was like $100 to catch the Uber. I went on the Uber and I didn't know what to expect. Man, I walked out this movie with like 7-8 bags. I'm like, crazy. Yo, what the fuck, dude? Like, same thing. Nike been sending me product for the past year. Like, and I'm blessed, dog. Like, I'm so blessed. And I don't at times realize to what extent I'm blessed. Today I went, for my daughter's 15, my buddy, one of the guys that I just know around the way that learned about me and found out about me to the music stuff. He owns a liquor store and he was like, man, what do you need? We got 36 bottles of liquor and he charged me like half the price because of who I am. And it's like, I don't know how to process it sometimes because I still feel like the guy that nobody believed in, right? Like I still feel like the guy that nobody saw that way. But again, the gift of initiative, bro, self-belief, it takes you further than anything else could take you. Because when people ask me, how did you get to where you're at? I could give you the strategy. I could give you the game plan. I could give you all that, but it really just comes down to initiative. Facts. Like you gotta just go after it and go and don't stop and be relentless, man. Right. Because you just never know what can happen. What's on the other side of fear? What the things that can manifest. You mentioned the award shows. I was like, damn, how'd you know that? I posted on Facebook, right? But being at those award shows and like being in that world and meeting people, like I just shared a story about how when we met LL Cool J, like
I seen that shit. I saw that's cool, right? That shit was super dope. I thought the fucking AI versions of y'all were real. I was like, is that really? That shit was dope as hell though. But that's a dope ass story though. And how else do you even get to that point without going through everything else that y'all went through?
And there's so much that people don't even realize, bro, that like the heartaches, the heartbreaks. People always look at the successful shows, man. Like, I got a good friend of mine in Fort Worth that he's like, I've never lost on a show. And he always brags about how he's never lost on a show. And sometimes I called him one day. I said, hey, bro, you know that? It's kind of offensive to me, right? Because I've hooked him up with some of the artists that he's booked for his shows, right? And you do realize that I took those losses so you don't have to.
So you got him because I didn't want him, basically, or I didn't want to fight you about him.
No, I'm saying I took the losses as in like from a financial standpoint of some of those shows, so you don't have to go through those same pitfalls that I went through.
Gotcha. Okay,
and like,
I see what you mean.
Like I feel like I've done that for a lot of talents. Like that you always hear the term like I crawled and walked so you could run or whatever. Like that's like I feel like I took a lot of losses for people to be able to benefit from what my skill set has become. And I do believe I have $1 million skill set, and I believe a lot of my partners have $1 million skill set. So when you talk about the business and how to adapt, look, man, people don't see that, I booked DMX in 2015 in Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? The show was on the verge of selling out. I'm in a hotel in Pittsburgh when I get notified that he got arrested and he didn't make the show the next day, and we had to cancel the show, and I lost all that money, or the partner of mine lost all that money. I booked Marcus Houston in 2009, 2010 at an all-age event, and then he gets accused of fucking molesting Rasby, and him and Chris Stokes were on that weirdo energy, and so I had to make an executive decision to postpone the show, or not postpone the show, but take him off the show, and they never gave me my money back for my deposit. I've lost deposits like that early in my career. I shared the story about the artist that I work with now, and one of the main reasons why I work with him is because the very first booking that I ever did, I got took for $5,000, and $5,000 at the time was $50,000 to me. You know what I'm saying? And there's almost a point where I've been in so many situations where I was gonna get hustled by people, and because I'm highly favored, because God's always been in my corner and always had my back, I always found a way out of it. And I tend to never really look at the problem. I always try to find the solution. I'm very solution based, and maybe that's probably part of what's made me what I am, like a problem solver. But I try not to marinate there too long, because people live there too long. It's like, that's a decision. You either make the decision to stay there or not. And if you make the decision to not be there, it's what it is. But man, dude, like those heartbreaks and those heartaches, man, like they were tough, man. There was plenty of times where I've had the door slammed on me, told no. I've lost so much money in over the course of time. The Rick Ross I think I had like in 2018, I had 3 shows back to back. Rick Ross, A Boogie with the Hoodie, and then 2 G Herbo shows. It was 4 shows in a row that I had to cancel. And I remember just like distraught. And at the time, there was people that were trying to fuck with me. You know, they were poking at me, they were laughing at me. He's done this and that. Like, and there was people that were actually like putting the energy out there, bro. And to kind of get through that and still be able to have success. Like I said, man, look, if historically my career's taught anybody anything, it's that I'm not gonna quit.
I was just, bro, that's one of the things about interviewing the interviewers. You motherfuckers always answer the question before I get to ask. Because I was just about to ask you, has there ever been a time where you felt like maybe this shit ain't for me? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nah, man, that's the thing. I'm passionate about this. I didn't grow up wanting to do anything. I'm too short to play basketball, too fat to play baseball. You know what I'm saying? Too slow to be a football player. Like I just, the only thing I ever wanted to do was music. And that's all I ever dedicated myself to, man. I remember my aunt would be at family functions like, when are you gonna get a real job? It's just a hobby. I remember I remember my dad, in 7th grade, I had embroidered everything in my hats. I had put Smooth, and I started, kind of owning the moniker. And my dad thought it was crazy. Like nobody thought this was gonna be a real thing except me. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm a couple weeks away from having a meeting in New York. Supposed to go out there and meet with, an executive at Def Jam. And when I sit down in front of him, like, bro, I'm so ready, bro. I'm so ready because I've been told by some of the biggest executives, the VP of Interscope, shared a story with me, and he told me, like, bro, I know exactly what you're gonna do when you get your foot in the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know exactly what you're gonna do. Your artist is your key. Right. You know what I'm saying? But when you're there, you're fucking.
Yeah, and I think what you've managed to do without a major artist is probably one of the more impressive things I've ever seen somebody do. Because the most successful the most successful executives that I've ever seen are the ones that cultivate the artist development portion themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go into it with that. Because I feel like if you just go get an artist that's already kind of established, or you working with somebody, that's different than you. And I don't want to say molding, because like you said, you met somebody, you all started working early, separated for whatever reason, and then you all came back to see success. There's still a matter in that to where you've molded the situation to work in a way that benefits you both. And him as well. You know what I'm saying? And as well as XB. Because when I see her, I still think of you first.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? I think there's going to be a part of them that will always be that, because, these artists are prideful. They want to have their own identity.
Facts, as they should.
I want them to have their own identity, but I'm attached to their legacy by the hip at this point, because they're an extension of me, and I'm an extension of them. So
because if it fails, then they point back to you as well. Like, why did you invest so much in that? Yeah. So it's a two-way street with that shit, and I don't see why people don't understand.
Artist development is something that's just always meant something to me, because I didn't have that, And I also look at, like, there's a void for that. Like right now, there's no artist development. I got an artist by the name of Crystal Poppin that's really, really starting to take off right now. And Crystal, man, Crystal's been around for a while. I can't take credit for her history. Right. But I've just, I've been mentoring her for the past 2 years, and I literally told her probably at the end of November, like, hey, I'm about to put you in the game. You've been riding the bench long enough. You're getting called up, and I'm ready to put a push behind you. So get ready. In January, we're gonna do XYZ. I mean, this was laid out, bro. This is a whole game plan laid out, and I mean, dog, in 6 weeks, not even
Crazy.
6 weeks, in 5 weeks.
Crazy, bro.
Her growth in 5 weeks, it's scary what's happening in 5 weeks. Like, bro, it's like, I can't even put it into words what's happened in 5 weeks of me just putting a push behind it and putting a strategy. And, me and you had a conversation. So I want to get a little bit into business mode, right? Right. So now that I've had the opportunity to work with the major labels, I've always been a chameleon. Like, I try to adapt, and I always want to have my DNA in what I do. I always want to be able to take what I see is successful and apply it to what I do. So I've always been one that, look, I didn't grow up wanting to do anything else. Like I mentioned, I never drank. I don't smoke, you know, and people always ask me, why don't you drink? Is it just to say you don't drink? I was like, no, I never wanted to create a spending habit.
Right.
You know, I never wanted to spend my money on anything other than my passion. Every chance I got, bro, I wasn't watching horror movies. I wasn't watching, you know, whatever everybody else was watching. I was watching VH1 Behind the Music. I was studying documentaries, docuseries. Like I was a nerd. And then add the fact that I'm such a huge pro wrestling fan, right? Like I grew up watching pro wrestling, but it's not because of what people think that I watch it for. Everybody thinks I watch it because, oh, you do know it's fake, right? Or the physicality aspect is like, no, that's not what I watch it for, you idiots. Right. I watch it because of the arc, the story. It's how the story is told. And, you know, you learn a lot about performance psychology from watching, you know, pro wrestling, from watching comedians work. You know, you kind of learn what works and what doesn't work. But me seeing that world and seeing how talent gets built up and how, you know, talent dissolves, and you hear all the behind the scenes stuff. Like there's so many parallels. Right. So I just started kind of crafting what I felt was a like a roadmap, like a developmental system to like, okay, this is how I'm gonna insert people and I'm gonna work them. No different than like a Vince McMahon, which is probably a bad example to use right now because of all the stigma. But I
get where you're going though, because his amount of success is immeasurable.
Yeah,
if you think about it being
he's
real,
the most, like, he's the most fucking the most successful promoter of all time.
All time.
Revolutionized. He created a pay-per-view model. But anyways, so with the way he would basically lay the roadmap for a talent and have the arc for the talent, it's like, bro, you could apply that to what it is within music. And so once I get into the major label system, I learned what's important to them. I see how they maneuver. I see how they move. And one thing about me, bro, like even now, I always try to be like, I never try to be the smartest person in the room, even though in my heart I feel like I am. Right. And I always observe. And I never let people know what I know. I let them know what I want them to know. So I play dumb a lot and kind of just like read the room. But I become a chameleon and I see what they do good and I see how to apply it because I study success stories. Like I studied Master P, right?
Seen it firsthand.
You know what I'm saying? I was a fan because of the entrepreneurship. I studied everything that he did. I studied, you know, the Dre's, the Eminems, whoever was having success. I always try to study. So I study the majors. You know, I share the story about like, you know, in 2010, 2011, I was on YouTube, bro, and I was watching how to A&R. Like even now, I still have one specific video that you can go to. If you ever look it up, it's Atlantic Records, it's Pete Gamberg, and it's about an 1.5-hour video where he's doing a seminar and he talks about the A&R process of the Carlos Santana album, Supernatural. And I've watched that video. That video has 10,000 views on YouTube. I've watched it probably 9,500 times. Like
it's all me.
It's all me. I send it to everybody. Like if me and you talk, and I'm like, hey, learn this, because so, you know, me seeing the label system, I've learned like what's most important to them is ownership. That's what means the most to the labels, right? And they're gonna bring in their writers, their producers, because they ultimately want to own the music and they want to control what's being put out in terms of the artist so they could recoup what their investment is. And, you know, whether or not the deal is fair or not, because people like to be very like, well, this isn't an artist-friendly system. You know, the artists get screwed. It's like you also have to remember how much equity you came into a situation with, because if I'm taking all the risk, why am I not allowed to make the reward, right?
Yes.
So I've had at least 2 people in the last 6 months as producers tell me, you're starting to become the majors. You're starting to think like the majors. But
as you should. Like,
but I mean,
what are we doing?
Yeah, but I mean, at what point do I graduate, right? Because my mindset has been like, bro, there's nothing, and there has not been an A&R that I've met that I feel is better at doing it than me. But I have to play my part right now.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? The same way that right now I feel like, you know what, man, like I know I can do X, Y, Z better than you because I develop, but I believe so much in the talent that I've met in the last 15 years, 20 years. I come from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm born and raised, proud to be from Fort Worth. I spent a lot of time over the last 10 plus years doing live events across the DFW. I have met, and you can agree, some of the most talented artists, and some of the most talented artists in the world live here and will never get past a certain point.
Yeah.
So when I say, you know what, I know the most talented musicians, I mean it. And I think of them before I think of anybody else. So when a label is saying we're looking for a hit record, the first thing I'm gonna do is go to the people that I know that can create those records that just have not got the chance yet, right? I said something about an artist by the name of Keela Treese. Man, my boy Lou Charles will cook me every time we talk. He's like, you remember that one time you said this? I said, Keela Treese is a better artist than Lauryn Hill. And he was like, you're crazy, why would you say that? But I mean that.
Right.
I still feel that way, but she's not as known as her, so I can't make that argument.
Right.
But it's no different than saying I think Rakim Al-Jabbar is a better rapper than 95% of the guys that think are great rappers.
Big facts.
But he's just not as known as them, right?
Right.
There's guys that I know right now that there's one specific artist that I'm working with that's that I've always thought highly of his penmanship. And I've outsourced him to write music. He's never viewed himself as a writer. I'm like, bro, you are too fucking skilled and talented to not share that gift.
Sleep on that shit. Yeah.
And it takes someone like me to have that vision to bring people together.
Bring it back.
And so when we talk about the label, that's what I'm taking, because now I'm applying it. I'm like, you know, remember that Gatorade commercial? Anything you can do, I can do better. That's how I feel. And that's not me being arrogant. That's me just going, I'm going to take this education I'm learning and I'm going to apply it.
Right.
And I'm kind of, you know, my hands are tied a little bit behind my back at times working with Louis, because he has a situation right now. He's signed to a label.
Right.
You know, I'm the manager, so I have to play the manager role. But at any given time, if he calls me and he's like, yo, what do you think we need to do? Shit, say less. I'm going to give you whatever I feel you need to do so we can elevate it.
Get elevated.
You know, but man, that's where I'm at right now, bro. My mind is like trying to figure out the best way that I want to craft the next phase of my career and go, okay, I'm going to take all these elements, right? I mentioned, if somebody goes, man, I'm looking for a hit record right now, I might go to the archives and go, man, look, all these records on Spotify. Man, I stumbled across this record that Kaution did. This record's a fucking smash for somebody else.
Right.
I'll make that call right now and be like, hey bro, that record that has 1,500 streams that's been out for 4 years, I think we can use it and make it a bigger record. And you know what, you're either gonna be like, man, you're crazy, it's my art, or you're gonna be like, it makes sense business wise.
Let's run with it.
And then next thing you know, we're fucking accepting a Grammy.
Right.
You know, like because to me it's like outsourcing, right? Like I've right now I'm starting my production team. It's been something I've been wanting to do since 2021, right? We talk about ownership of music, controlling the music. I believe, you know, and it scratches my creative itch a little bit as well. Right. But same way that Dre, same way that Rick Rubin, same way that, you know, the greats, you know, fucking, what's his name? The one that did Michael Jackson's album. I'm
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones. You know, these guys were producers, but they didn't necessarily play the keys.
Right.
And what I noticed, what I feel about production right now is that production is someone's at the helm and he's just bringing the best collaborators together.
Yeah.
The best keyboardists, the best beat maker, the best songwriters, the best, you know, instrumentalist. And I feel right now, because I know so many of the talents that I've met over the years, just through booking, I feel I already have that. Now, whether or not they're permanent or I'm just outsourcing for specific projects, I mean, let's run it. Let's run it, because that's all you see. Like, man, look, I see what Jay White does. Jay White brings in collaborators like Bobby, like, you know, Marty McFly, like Little Ronnie motherfucker, right? He brings them in to create these records. You know what I'm saying? Like, the brilliance behind what he's doing isn't him playing the beat. It's being able to put together the people in the room to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So I see that, and I also have the relationships and the resources to be able to go, you know what, I could make a call. I could put these tracks in the right hands. I could push this forward.
That's that next level of it too. It's like not only the creation, but the execution of the plan afterwards is what you have that's the roadblock that a lot of people have. Like they bang their head against the wall because it's like, damn, I got this thing that I feel is perfect, but I have no clue how to move it.
Yeah, man, it's hard. You know, we were having a conversation right now. You were talking about it a little while ago, but most people don't listen. So it's like, I got to the point where I don't want to speak up with situations that are going to waste.
It's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to take you serious at all. It's going to be you doing a bunch of talking and a bunch of people that don't want to hear it, or they don't believe what you're saying enough the way you believe in it. And I think the main thing I'm learning about you from this interview is that your belief in yourself trumps anything else that anybody can say, do, or feel about you.
You know, I was talking to XB. Oh man, I shouldn't even say this. Well, look, you know, she was asked, we were having a conversation and she had made a comment that somebody had said about me. And I was like, look, man, you know, I'm not trying to be the guy that stiff arms everybody and says, my way or no way.
Right.
But that comment is offensive because they're making something that's a positive feel like a negative
fucking thing.
As if there's not results that are attached to it. Because if we do it, when we do it this way, things go up. When we do it that way, nothing happens.
Right.
And so I'm not afraid to assume the role of being the professional. Like, bro, this is what I do for a living, you know? And I have that chip on my shoulder at times, bro, and I've gotten so much better about it. And I'm embarrassed that I would say probably about like right around the time we went to the first award show, me and Louis, I circled back around with some guys that were talking shit about me on the internet. And I just gave them that big dick energy, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I just kind of stiff-armed them a little bit like, hey, who are you to say this? You don't make a living off of this, I do.
Right.
And I feel embarrassed by it because it really wasn't needed on my behalf. And, you know, but at the same time, like, it's true though.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, you know, I don't want to have to sit here and convince you of it. Either you know or you don't know. And if you don't know, that's perfectly fine. Right.
Sorry for stating the obvious, but I can see that it's a fact. Yeah. And sometimes listen, I understand being humble is a certain thing and humility is great. But sometimes you have to stand out there and say, my belief is based on the results.
Yeah.
And I have the results to show that I can be an asshole and I can be cocky, not even an asshole, that I can be overconfident about this shit because it fucking works.
Yeah.
And so if you have a problem with what works, you don't have a problem with the process. You just have a problem with me.
Yeah.
And so those people, you have to rub it in their nose a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, I mean, up to a certain extent, because I feel that I'm more of a new age executive. Like, I understand, like, some of the old heads, bro. Like, one thing I learned really in the last 2 years, more so than anything prior, and I kind of already knew this, I'm so thankful to anybody I ever had beef with or anybody I ever had issues with early in my career. Like, because I used to get that yearly diss song on me, right? Like, fuck Smoothvega, fuck Smoothvega, Vega dies, fuck Vega. And you know, and I always kind of make jokes and I'm like, well, you know, I mean, look at me now, motherfucker. Right. You know what I'm saying? No, man, like, it really prepared me because nothing changes whenever you quote unquote level up. The only thing that changes is the characters, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh man, like now I'm having to deal with these motherfuckers feeling some type of way. And you know, some of the old heads, like, they're like, well, you're cocky and you're loud on the internet and this, that, and the third. I'm like, first of all, bro, this isn't fucking AOL dial-up, old fucking, you old dinosaur. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't your fucking, this ain't a pager anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, I am a self-promoter and I didn't realize that's what I was. And I honestly, by definition, if you Google it, it's not necessarily a good thing, but I'm a new age executive where there was a period of time where there became like like the Jermaine Dupri's, the Puffies, the even the Russell Simmons up to a certain extent, right? The Dame Dashes, the Irv Gottis. Mm-hmm. They started branding themselves.
Yes.
And they started becoming, even Suge, right? The executives became a personality.
Right. Because it sold the brand. I think the artists all... Back to what you said about the artist mindset being selfish. The artist always sells themselves. The executive sells the brand.
Correct.
Dame Dash sold Rockefeller. Yeah. You know.
I mean, you have DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled's become his own brand. Mm-hmm. You have...
it's the brand. We the best. Because I know that I'm going to funnel so much through this shit. I'm not just going to pour it into one artist. Like, I want you to see that I'm cultivating, you know, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, but also, like, I think for me, the difference is people tend to disregard that. I had a career prior to all that. Mm-hmm. Like, prior to me being a promoter, prior to me doing that, like, I was a rapper. Facts. Now, whether or not you make the argument that I was successful or not, it really doesn't matter. Like, I had already put in time. I had accumulated a name for myself. I had won awards individually as a rapper.
Nice.
So when I transitioned into a promoter, and then it happens again as a promoter, and then it happens again as a manager, then you start realizing, okay, clearly
it's me.
Yeah, clearly it's me. But
I love that. It's a round of applause for that though.
But you can't stop me from branding myself, because at the end of the day, I had somebody tell me one time, like, you can't be the one branding yourself. You got to let us do that for you. Well, if you wait for somebody to give you the credit, they're never going to give it to you.
Nah, hell no.
So I have to build my brand equity up, because guess what? If I ever decide to, sell a workshop and, hey, it's $100 to watch me talk for 2 hours. Guess what? I could do that because I have my own brand.
Facts.
I control that. I don't control what you do. I could control what Smoothvega does. I can't control what the artist does, because again, if the artist decides to have a radical lifestyle change and say, I no longer want to do it, I decided I want to go do this, right?
Now I'm just out here.
Now I'm just like, all right, well, you know what? What am I going to do? I'm going to do a lot of things, because I've always been who I am.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you talk about the podcast, I've been able to have a lot of results with that when I do that. And so it's like, that's not made possible if I don't take time to put into myself.
To cultivate it, yeah.
And there was a period of time, I think probably about a year ago, where, I was going through that shift in my life, that internal change, and I started feeling a little uncomfortable with the notoriety and the attention, because, it was getting intense. When you go to different cities, different states, and people recognize you, and then also like, the fake profiles, like
that shit's crazy though.
Yeah, it starts getting weird, dog. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I preferred it when nobody knew who I was. I'm going to Walmart with my kid. I'm not dressed up. Like, people are asking me for photos. Like, it's just like, man, like,
wasn't expecting that part of it.
Yeah, like, I don't know that I like that as much. Like, I don't like the idea that people think that they could say whatever they want about me and there be no repercussions. Like, I've always said, like, as a public figure, you're subject to public opinion.
Public opinion.
So no matter what, whether or not you like it or not, you got to just take it. But you also have to understand, the internet is a virtual reality. It's literally not real. It's like it's a virtual high school. Like, you just got to separate and say, you know what, 98% of these people would never say what they say on the internet to somebody's face.
Hell no. And then if in certain instances people portray who they want to be on there, and then a lot of times you meet people in real life and they're completely the opposite. So I think with you, it's like, you're such a down-to-earth person. Had I not known you for who you are, like, you wouldn't know all the shit. Like, if we never came into this interview and said what you did, what your name was, or nothing, people just be like, oh, that's a cool ass guy. He seems like he knows how to do podcasts.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying? They don't know what you've done.
What I think is so weird to me is that I think people get like, I've come to this realization that I feel people are intimidated.
A little bit.
And it's so weird that they're intimidated, especially whenever like I meet people that are more talkers than doers. Because like, I could peel the curtain back and show, like, you're not really who you think you are.
Right.
And I'm probably who a lot of people say they are. And I'm probably who a lot of people think they are. But what's funny is that, like, that's not my goal in life. I didn't get up today to be like, I'm going to do what that person thinks that he's going to do, right? Yeah. Like, that's not my motive. My motive is not even to be better than anybody. It's better. I want to be the best version of self.
Facts.
I want to top what I've already done. Like, and, we talked earlier today and I say, bro, like, I sometimes feel that, I did a poor job of like, continuing what I was doing, because I played such a big role in so many artists elevating. I played such a big part in giving a lot of artists their first breaks, and a lot of artists, their only meaningful shows were my shows.
True.
And I didn't realize that my void was that big until I looked up and I'm looking at the Trees calendar and I'm looking at some of these shows that are there's nothing, bro. Nope. Clint's calling me like, yo, man, when are you gonna put something in here? Like, we need you in here. Like, and I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, is it really that much of a drought?
It is, bro.
And then I'm just like, shit. Maybe it was bigger than I realized, and maybe that's where the significance came from, because there is a part of me that maybe felt like it wasn't fully appreciated, but there's also a part of me that's like, it was never for that. Right. It was really because purpose. There was always a bigger purpose, but like, seeing that, I'm just like, oh, wow, like, it's crazy, because you got to remember though, bro, like, in second grade, this is when I really realized I was different, and this sums up my whole life. In second grade, I had this grand idea, and it really started sooner. But I tell you all the time, my mom made me feel like I was different. Mm-hmm. But in second grade, I convinced everybody in my class to do a quote unquote drawing contest, and I would give the winner 50 cents, and everybody in my class did it. Everybody in my class followed me when I said, hey, I'm gonna do a drawing contest, the winner gets 50 cents, and everybody did. I gave whoever the 2 quarters.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? In 5th grade, I went to school, and Selena had passed away, and my mom owned an independent record shop. I grew up in an independent record shop for the first 12 years of my life. Yes, my mom was an independent business owner, so she got a bunch of Selena apparel. I took it to school, and I went to the playground and I sold these fucking medallions. I was giving them out in the playground for like 50 cents to $1. I was taking people's money, and I got fucking suspended. I got paddled because I was soliciting in 5th grade. And then in 7th grade, I started, like dubbing mixtapes on the cassettes.
Classic.
Remember, you used to put the little paper on the top of the cassettes?
And the top of the 2 holes?
Yeah, bro. I was selling cassettes and mixtapes. My dad got a CD burner in 9th. I was maybe a freshman in high school, and at the time the CD burners were only 2 times. So they would. So a 4-minute song, it would be like it would take 2.5 minutes to burn, and then like another minute and a half to finalize.
Yes, sir.
And bro,
the good old days.
Bro, I was selling CDs in 9th and 10th grade. Like I was burning mixtapes. Like bro, it's always been in me. I've always been that guy. Like, and you add all the layers of everything I've learned. It's just like the way I apply is just different. But
that's what it should be about. It's like you learn, you apply, you learn, you apply, and eventually, I don't think you'll ever be a finished product. I think you'll continue to grow and evolve as you continue to do what you're doing, because you're always obtaining knowledge, right? But if you can, just leave the people with a piece of knowledge, or those that may be wanting to follow in smooth steps. Like, what would you advise them to do? Like,
well, it depends on what capacity, right? If you're talking about just the business aspect, or if you're talking about the music aspect, right? Because in music, I feel right now, more than ever, you have to establish an identity. Like, who are you? No one will ever be better at being you than you, right? I feel like people put on the rapper costume in hip hop, and they'll be like, all right, I'm a rapper now, so like, let me go shoot a music video in front of a car that I don't own, and wear a bunch of jewelry that I can't afford, and and be around a bunch of women that clearly I can't pull,
don't want me.
Or what I'm saying? Like, but let me play the part, because that's what the rapper, how to be a rapper starter kit looks like, right? And let me go make the most generic ass rap song. Like, bro, I promise you that will not work. What will work 10 times better is if you're a struggling ass independent musician that's working a 9 to 5, no money, whatever. Just go in front of the camera and say, look, I don't know shit about social media. I'm broke, but I rap, and I really want you to hear my song. Check me out. Like, that will do more for you than you playing the part.
Than pretending.
Because people connect to authenticity. People connect to what's real. My favorite rapper of all time is Tupac, right? My other favorite rapper is Eminem. Well, what's the parallels between these two, right? The parallels is that by the time you got finished listening to a Pac album, or whenever you finished listening to an Eminem album, you felt like you knew these motherfuckers. Specifically with Eminem, you feel like you knew his mom's name, you knew his daughter's name, you knew his baby mama.
What he was going through.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was all on display, and you felt connected to that because there was an authenticity to it. People respect authenticity. So again, no one will ever be better at being you than you. You got to establish what success means to you. Like, how do you define success? Success is subjective. Some people define it by money. Some people define it by metrics. Some people define it by accomplishments and accolades. But until you wholeheartedly understand what that means to you, it does not matter what anybody does for you until you know what that means. And the last thing that I'll say is this. There's all these core competencies in management: drive for results, customer focus, the internal customer, the external customer. There's all these analogies and metaphors that you can use. At the end of the day, you have to know what you're working towards. Because if you don't know what you're working towards, bro, I promise you're never going to get to your end goal. You have to establish what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Thanks.
And all the in between. Look, I could tell you this. If my car breaks down today, I could probably figure out how to fix it, but it might take a long time to figure out because I'm not a mechanic.
Facts.
So why not expedite the process and get a mechanic? You have to defer to people that know more than you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fuck the pride, fuck all this like, oh, I gotta be, a self-made and I gotta do it on my own and I'm independent. Woo. That sounds really, really cool on paper, but it's not. Mm-hmm. I promise you, you are going to overextend yourself. You're going to get exhausted and you're going to eventually run out of gas when you're doing it all on your own. Yeah. Not to say that you shouldn't do it all on your own if you have no options, but if you have the options, if you have, the ability to outsource, the ability to make a call, the ability to say, you know what, I'm not good in this area and I can admit that I'm not good in this area. Let me find somebody that is good in this area. And the last thing I'll add to that is, in order for you to know that they're good in that area, track record speaks for itself.
Facts.
Do your research, do your due diligence. Don't be blinded by the photos on social media. You could create your narrative, man. If I wear nothing but suits and I'm in front of a bunch of Bentleys, people are gonna assume that I'm rich, right? Just because people take photos with celebrities doesn't make them.
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying? Just because they're, oh look, I'm in the studio with this guy doesn't make them who they say they are. Right. Do your research, and then you'll realize, all right, you know what? Here's who I need to work with, who I don't need to work with, and let that be kind of the foundation of what it is that you're trying to build. Because I think if you apply all those things that I just mentioned, along with, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, there's other intangibles, but those things are very, very key and essential to growth.
Super dope, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you pulling up, my brother. This was more than I bargained for. Like, it really was, bro. And I think in my position, all I can do now is soak up game. Like because I'm not at a place where I feel like this is all new to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so anytime I get to talk to people like you with your expertise and all the fields and things like that, it just kind of gives me the confidence to know that, like, you just keep going. Like, not quitting is the thing. Like, continuing, always be willing to learn, be a sponge. You know what I'm saying? Don't get too big for yourself. Like those. Whether
it's the case, I've always felt I'm the best at what I do. And when I take the tenacity that I take, that approach that I take, it's not for everybody. Right. And it doesn't need to be for everybody. When I see people won't follow me, it doesn't offend me. It's like, all right, this wasn't for you.
Yeah, our time is up. I appreciate you for the time I've had you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully you took something with you when you left.
Yeah, man.
Facts,
I'm not here to service the pre-existing audience. I'm here to acquire a new one. But at the same time, bro, like, I believe in myself and I believe that. I've always felt that.
Right.
And I just feel like right now it's probably a little bit more on display than it's been. But when I tell you, like, this wasn't like something that just happened, it did it. It's, it's the turtle that won the race.
Facts. Well, it's Smoothvega, Premier Live.
Oh, Premier Live Management.
Premier Live Management.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? XB Valentine, Crystal Poppin'.
Yeah.
Louis the singer.
Frankie
fucking J. Come on, bro.
Yeah, the architects, man. We just started the production team, man. It's gonna be lit.
A lot more in store. Hopefully more of the pod, man. That's what I'm,